Hey. You. Hi there. It's 4:19. Do you have a minute? Good. Then let's pack a bowl. 'Cause it's time for Cannabis Talk, a special 420 themed segment of the Almost Daily Zencast. Hosted by spiritual cannabis mystic, the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo. Let's get lit, folks! Yeah.
So yet again, I've started today's episode, and I forgot to pour myself a drink. I really wanted like a kombucha or something. Question: tomato, is it kombucha? 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 Like, how do you pronounce that shit? It doesn't matter. It's really good. It's so good. I drink them all the time. I'm very addicted, and I'm a big supporter and endorser of getting people to drink kombucha. Go get some kombucha. Kombucha? I don't know. It's a funny word and a really delicious drink that absolutely zero people are paying me to endorse right now. I just thought I'd kick off the show with that random bit of word salad. Good afternoon, folks. Good evening, and good night, and good morning. How are you? Thanks for tuning in. I am your always humble, if not slightly absurd host, the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo, now available on Spotify. Hey, folks. How's it going there? Thanks for joining me. I was just laughing at myself about not getting my usual beverage, or forgetting my beverage. It's like 60-40. I get it sometimes, and I forget it sometimes. Because one of the humorous things that's real about when I do this segment is that I recorded I sound designed the opening intro music bit based on the time that I tried to kick off a show and like died, just choked to death on a bong rip. Real life moment, and it was funny, and I thought it sounded decent, and I in terms of like applicable for the whole sound design moment. But now, often, especially on the days that I forget to grab a kombucha or a beer or something, because please note, for anybody concerned about my safety, I only do the Cannabis Talk segments where I actually really do smoke weed live on the show on days that I'm not driving and I have 0 appointments or schedules to go anywhere. So today is, Saturday, I think? Yeah, it's actual Saturday. It's a Saturday before Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day! Put a pin in that. Not going to talk about it in this episode. But there's a reason why I always forget about Mother's Day. And it's not because I'm a jerk. It's because my mom's actually been dead for a long time. So it's not my favoriteest of days to do stuff on. But I digress. Reeling it back. That was really personal. Ow, I don't know if I've been hurting because I don't talk about that or hurting because I talk about that too much. In real life, not in, on the show. So, wow. How are you? Are you high yet? Do you smoke weed, dear listeners? I noticed that the show gets, on average, a high teen number, like a high 50, like a 15 or a 17 or an 18 number of downloads within the first 4 or 5 hours of posting it. And then over the next 3 days, a new episode will sort of climb up into the mid-20s. And then some of them seem to peak out, and then others, like, I think I have 3 episodes that have broached the 100 download mark. And then I haven't really looked at the live plays version, because I get way more downloads than live plays. Yeah. No one's in the chat room. Cool. I think I missed the button and hit a laugh effect for a hot second, so maybe there's a funny laugh effect there. Now I'm going to do it. I'm funny. No, I'm not. Or am I? Wait, that's not... You can't play that game with funny, can you? I don't know. So, yeah, reeling things way back. A funny thing that happens ever since recently, especially on days when I forget to grab my kombucha and or my beer. If I had done any podcasts yesterday, it would have been drunk podcasts. And I think I have maybe done 2 drunk episodes where I was like, it's a 420 episode of Cannabis Talk and I'm already smoking a lot and fuck it, I'm having a beer too. I think. I don't remember if I've declared it out loud or not. I have to go back and listen to all my old podcast episodes and reorganize them and re-engineer them and fix them up, because I'm sure they're just a horrible mess to listen to. But thanks to all of you who seem to be listening. I don't know, maybe that's just fake numbers that the website gives me to keep me engaged and make me feel like very slow and tedious but measurable progress is being made in the audience growing department. The growth of my audience as a metric. Wow, I keep starting that sentence about the funny thing that happens when I forget my kombucha and go off on a tangent because I remember something. That is, of course, typical both of my normal, natural, sober, pre-cannabis enthusiast self. I was always a bit of a basket case. And, of course, it is a stereotype of stoner culture that we're a bit of a basket case of random tangents and spiraling thoughts going out of control. But funny to me, and I hope funny to you, and hopefully I'll finally get to finish the sentence and knock the story out so that I can move on, is that sometimes, half the time, especially when I forget my kombucha, I will go to hit the bong while the intro is playing and the microphone is muted, because I like to listen to it. I don't like to just stare at the screen and then not talk through the intro, because I don't want to talk through the intro, right? Because it'll fuck it up and then it won't sound right. So I'm sitting there listening to the intro, and sometimes just because I just heard a bong rip and then enough times passed that it would have been handed to me if I was sitting in a circle of people smoking weed, that I'll grab my bong and... Oh, it's really cloggy. Damn, I forgot to fix that up before the show started. Now we'll get to sit and talk about cleaning bongs on the show. Special segment in just a few minutes. So I'll hit the bong during the thing in anticipation of the show starting and wanting to sneak in. I don't know why it's cool to sneak in a hit before you start the show, even though you're going to smoke on the show. It's just funny to me, and I do that. And then some of the times I will start coughing almost in unison, almost exactly like sounding exactly like what I sound like in the recording of me coughing, and that makes me want to die laughing. And so I end up kicking off the show either choking on myself or my own saliva, or laughing at myself, or very confused. But it's a delightful treat that I look forward to every time I do this special segment, because I forget about it and then I remember it. And as it happens, right? Like I have that sense memory of like, oh, right, yeah, this happens, and I think it's funny. Have I already done an episode about this? I don't know. But hey, I have a crazy idea. I would like you... Oh no, have I already done that too? Yeah, I already have. Thanks for reminding me, per the voice inside my head, that I've already done the little opening 1-minute meditation that I thought, oh, it'd be neat to open an episode like this one day soon. Maybe I'll bring it back. I've gotten zero feedback from anybody about anything ever, which is kind of ironic and funny and hilarious to me that the show gets downloaded 40 times on average. Right now, the average is like 20 to 40 downloads per episode, in that range. Total downloads. And but no commentary. No one posts a comment. No one asks questions. No one's even throwing me any shade or any hate on any of the platforms that I'm aware of. I saw one comment complaining about the sound quality of the very earliest episodes, and that was on iTunes. Hey, everybody listening on iTunes. And I don't even know if the numbers on Spreaker reflect the numbers on the other platforms or not. I really should write them a question about that. Or if when I look at my Spreaker dashboard, is it just numbers from people using the app or their website, right? Like, is that all that is? Or is are the numbers aggregate totals of all the places it's distributed to? Or do I got to go log into other things? That's what I did a long time ago. It was like I was curious, and I was like, oh, I've never actually been to my iTunes provider account page that I made really quick when I first realized I could distribute to iTunes for free, and or automatic, not for free. Is it for free? I don't know, but I can do it from within Spreaker, so it's not really for free because I'm paying for Spreaker, right? But I digress. And that's when I saw the one comment about how the volume and general audio quality was really bad. But that was from, I think, a specific episode really, 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 really early on. And I don't think that episode's up anymore. But yeah, thanks to that one person, that was actually very helpful. I didn't realize how bad the audio quality was, because on my home system that I'd recorded it on, playback from Spreaker sounded cool. Like, it sounded fine. So apologies to people. And I hope that it isn't the case now, because now that I'm in a new space with much better, lower levels of ambient city noise, and on slightly better equipment with native microphones built in, instead of using like a secondhand gift me down mic that had traveled through the mail a lot. No offense to the person who got me that mic originally. They know who they are. If they're listening, they're probably not listening. But if they are, I don't want them to feel like I was dissing them. It was a great gift. It just turned out not to really work well. I still have it. But that's a whole different story. Actually, I should test it on my new desktop machine, because it might work better in this environment if it isn't physically fucked up. If it was just like a bad support patch, whatever you call that, drivers situation. That's a good idea. Anyways, all right, friends. I just took you on some random tangents. Happy 420. I hope you're hitting things. And by that I mean smoking weed out of devices made of glass. And or wood. And preferably not metal, folks. Not to get snobby. I know people are like, fuck it, I don't care. But please don't smoke out of aluminum devices. Either homemade or sold to you. Because that shit is bad and gets in your system and is really counterproductive to the whole cannabis heals thing. Here we are. What's up? I have a clogged up bong, so I haven't actually hit this bong quite well yet for 420. And I realized it was kind of clogged up earlier when I went to hit it at the beginning of the show during the title sequence, and I got a good hit, but then, you know, like, you ever feel that, like, oh, I pulled something down and now it's all jammed up inside? That's totally what happened. Bongs are fascinating accoutrement, to borrow the French word. They're fascinating appliances, although that's probably incorrect technically. They're fascinating devices. Would that a correct use of the term? Wow, words, man. They're so wordful and slippery and slidery sometimes. Yeah, they're brilliant things. And there's some crazy new high-tech, super engineered bongs out there now. Which is kind of crazy, in my opinion. A little bit, there's a definite, overkill syndrome in the bong design community, which is great. Do it, but not everybody needs to smoke out of a monstrously, huge, monster bong. So, I already wish everybody happy Mother's Day. Let me lay down some, dope spiritual wisdom, man. Even if you don't get along with your mom, and also, call out alert, my own fucking hypocrisy here. Let's say you have a stepmom or something. It's even if your relationship is contentious, right? Or difficult or challenging or downright your relationship is angry and confrontational and whatever. I'm not trying to judge anyone's relationship with their mothers, but I guess I'm just saying, bottom line, as a species, we should own up to the fact that motherhood at all, motherhood in life, in real life, in practical terms, should be honored more seriously, should be supported and empowered more powerfully, and should be, in my honest opinion, more at the center of the world, the culture that we all try to thrive in, the culture that we all try to build together. Whether you're into, cultural globalism or you're against it, in your setting, in any setting, motherhood and those who literally are blessed and, humorously speaking, also cursed with the burden, the responsibility, the spiritual calling, the chore, the physical manifest role, the responsibility here on this planet of giving birth to new people so that the human species may continue to exist. We shouldn't belittle and put down and reductionally misrepresent the meaningfulness and the power and the magic that is motherhood. There's some deep things there, right? But there's also some very sensitive, touchy subjects there. But I want to take it to one that's really powerful, and that's curiously also happens to be what I include in my generic birthday message, which I'm sure I've talked about in some other segment of this show before. But the simple, natural, organic, undeniable fact that people come out of other people, specifically mothers, is, well, for lack of a better term, a miracle, a kind of magic, a kind of power, a kind of glorious, spiritual, supernatural, transcendent, resplendent thing that is tragically so taken for granted in our common, everyday, normal, average mentality culture, like the culture of that common, everyday, average mentality. We take motherhood for granted. We've really turned it into, well, not all of us. I'm not trying to paint everybody or accuse everyone of all having this, but there is a deep sort of level to it, a depth to the degree to which we've all been inculcated in the marginalization or the devaluing and the de-awifying. In other words, we don't take great awe. We don't revel in the sense of wonder and inspirational awe about motherhood, right? You see people, you see women, you see parents, you see men, you see parents alone and or in their partnership with other parents, shit-talking parenthood, and or their own experience with their children, and or other people's abilities, and or et cetera, right? And it's deeper. There's an even deeper level of concern, I think, dare I say it, which is why, and I'm acknowledging in this, for this discussion, the fact that I myself have a bit of a jaded relationship to Mother's Day, and that I've had opportunity to align myself poorly with the divine motherhood as it manifests itself in our universe, both vis-a-vis how I relate to individual mothers who are, and the way I related to in the past my own mother when she was still around. But I digress. We all are human. We all are flawed. We all have ego nefariously working deep inside of us as part of us to fuck us up, to fuck up our own life, right? But to this other level I wanted to get at, and I shared on this, I posted a thing on Facebook where it was like, I was trying to be sort of controversial, but I've also posted this before, I believe. It's definitely from my Instagram account, but the text I shared with the image is new. Like the image that I created is... Anyways, it's about Mother Earth as opposed to individual mothers. I think that Mother's Day, as well as Earth Day, but any day, every day, but Mother's Day is good as any to take a stand and remind people that one of the oldest and most painful and most oppressive and most destructive and most fucked up lies that we, humanity, the human species, have ever made up and inflicted upon ourselves is the following. Planet Earth is just a place. Planet Earth is just an inert collection of objects available to us to do with as we please. In my humble opinion, friends, this is at the center of our cultural problem, the meta-cultural, meta-problem of our global system. And it's not about whether or not we should or should not be participating in a globalist system. I'm not trying to make that argument. What I'm saying is at the core of the system of oppression, at the core of what the fuck is going on here, in practical terms, about the world we live in, this is right down there, deep next to the tap root. And they say, if you're going to get at a problem, you got to get down at the root, of the real root of the problem. Don't be wasting your time trimming the leaves or grabbing for the low-hanging fruit. If you really want to get at the heart of something, find out what is at its core, and be really clear-sighted about it. And I humbly propose to you, friends, that this is one such subject. This malicious lie is deeply traumatic. This malicious lie and the culture that depends on it, that is dependent on it, impingent upon it, that is built upon this lie. Our culture is built on this lie that planet Earth is just a place. It is traumatic to individuals who understand it and recognize it for a lie. It is traumatic even to individuals who do not understand it and recognize it as a lie. It is traumatic to everyone in the human species. Controversial, crazy statement, right? Sure. I'll double down. You and I, dear listener, dear friends, dear audience, you and I and everyone we know, we are all carrying generations upon generations upon generations worth of pain caused by this insanely damaging lie about the nature of our relationship with our mother. Right? This kind of thing, this kind of manipulation is often easy to perceive and understand when it's happening in real life, right? We know that sometimes parents get divorced and they have a really toxic relationship with each other. One or more of the individuals may be very toxic people themselves, and one of them might try to manipulate any children or child regarding how they should relate to the other. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole about all the different arguments we can get into about that sort of thing. I just want to say, I'm just pointing out, that's clear to see in people when it happens, right? When that's a plot twist in a show you're watching, you get it. You don't need to get spoon-fed what's going on to them. You see the manipulation at play, and you see the damage it causes, and then you see how the storyteller or how the real life events play out, right? Well, zoom out from that as an analogy or as an example and consider that if one is clear-sighted enough, especially in doing an individual internal investigation that begins with as true and as powerful abdication of all assumptions, presumptions, biases, and ideological constructs that one might be clinging to, and setting them aside, right? Like a real abdication of that stuff as hard as you can. And then you really try and see inside yourself without any filters telling you what to expect. That you too will see that we are all deeply traumatized, and that it may not be obvious right away, but with enough work, it becomes clear that the cause of this trauma that we are experiencing in our day-to-day lives, as well as receiving through the collective process of generational genetic carrying forward of not just the basic building blocks of the human body, but a genetic memory of all that which has happened to get to the point where the genome is now, right? Some argue with some pretty decent scientific type evidence that is very possible. Not only very possible, that we're experiencing what it means to understand that more directly, and therefore experiencing a lot more direct, what's the word? The direct experiencing of things like this inherited trauma. Why would this lie that planet Earth is just a place, an inert collection of objects available to us to do with as we please? Why would it be traumatic? Some have asked me that while I'm trying to have this kind of conversation in the past. And to me, it seems obvious. But I guess it's fair, and that to others it won't be, and therefore it's worth spelling out as clearly as possible. So forgive me. I don't want to sound condescending. I'm not aiming to sound condescending. I don't feel condescending. Some of these things just seem really clear and obvious and have for a really long time, even though I don't live up to them, right? I'm not claiming to live up to any of this. I'm just saying that we shouldn't even be arguing about these other things, because we should be able to see clearly what is true and what's at the source of this problem is deeper and more important and more applicable. But here's what I think is why this lie is so important and so significant, and why we have to understand it. It leads us down a horrible path. It alters how we relate to planet Earth / Mother Earth. When we step back far enough, it becomes clear, I think, that we have been convinced, and it's unfair to place a blame elsewhere, because it's the human species doing this to the human species, right? I don't think that lizard people are controlling us. I don't think we're some kind of fish tank video game program. I don't think, the place is crazy enough as it is without those additional level theories. And there's plenty of very strong, sound, well-explained esoteric cosmologies that take into account for all the things that the holographic computer model theory tries to call out, and just places it in a place of it being an organic process that happens to be highly virtual and highly holographic. But everything is a giant fractal hologram. I digress, though. Here in this time frame, in this history that we're living through, something that we have to own up to is that we ourselves, the human species, have convinced ourselves as individuals and as a collective to neglect our mother. We have fooled ourselves into abusing our mother. We have sold ourselves on profiteering on the systematic desecration of our mother. No wonder so many of us have mildly skewed up, fucked up relationships with our real life mothers, with our human, womb birth mothers and fathers. No wonder we have such fucked up relationships with each other. It doesn't matter which way you try to argue it, that it's impossible that Earth is our mother. Where do we come from? Sure, there's plenty of interesting theories about placing our origins elsewhere, but I'm talking about looking here now. Look at the world. What is going on? If you take away human technology, what's happening for reals? Earth brings forth life in a mysterious way that is magical, right? And if you stop thinking about it from a globalist or a flat earthist point of view, that's what abdication means, right? Like, stop using those filters. Stop letting those mental constructions define what you perceive, and you just look at the world. What is it but a living place that brings forth life? The livingness of it can exist in such a way that is not like flesh bodies, but to think that the planet is inert and has no life in it is to choose to then really not understand where we come from, how life happens, both from a measurable scientific point of view and from a mystical, esoteric, spiritual point of view. And this misunderstanding, this disconnection, this inability to perceive clearly that which is actually going on around you, which is that this thing we call a place is really less of a place and more of a womb that brings forth life, the genome, or genome, the life, however you want to slice it, however you want to label it, which is, of course, one unity expressing a way of unfolding itself into an infinite variety of forms, right? Talked a little bit about that in past episodes. This disconnect is not only toxic, because it's basically, imagine if in real life your job, your church, your politics, and your normative entertainment pop culture literally tried for your entire life to convince you that your birth mother that you live with at home is not a real person. That you are a real person, but that she is not, and that she needs to be radically ignored, abused, and then ultimately consumed for profit. Like the moment you put it in terms of the woman who gave birth to you, right? Even if you don't like her, that argument it falls apart, doesn't make sense. You wouldn't do it, right? Who would sell out their own mother? Well, some would, I suppose. Those wrapped up in the ego trap of desiring money more than anything, up to and including the healing process of loving one another. Right? So, okay, maybe there are plenty of people in the world that would sell off their mother. There are plenty of people in the world. We are all inculcated. No one is free of this stain, by the way. Even vegetarians, even the ultra-vegans, who are all fucking freaked out and mad at us for not being as advanced in their advancement of understanding as they are. We're all entangled in this. Because even spiritual people kind of forget and don't treat mother... I mean, I'm not accusing all spiritual people of being, horrible people and mistreating the earth. We all, even the most spiritual of us, though, truly do fail to live up to the highest order of what we could, rationally and logically speaking, be doing right now to solve these horrible toxic problems that are doing damage to this beautiful, magical, amazing, awe-inspiring womb that gives birth to us and all our living family, brothers and sisters, plants and animals. And that's because, in my humble opinion, we are so conditioned and so accustomed to both living with this trauma that this conditioning causes and this conditioning being in place. We're used to it. It's been around for centuries. I'm talking about generations worth of work here that we've done to ourselves. And remember, the bad guys, they are us. We are them. We did this to ourselves. It makes no difference and does no good pretending to either be a victim or pretending to be somehow free of inculcation and somehow a saint in regards to just the overall act of radically, psychologically, spiritually, esoterically ignoring and neglecting our mother. I say this with a heavy heart because I've, of course, totally have been and will likely fail again in the future to live up to what that means. But it's important to at least try to further our understanding, each of us, individually and with each other as a community that is trying to build a consensus on these kinds of concepts, and to share at those who don't even think about this, who would hear this for the first time and think it's crazy. But I assure you, my friends, that the following, and that all of this is stuff, I don't believe in it blindly. I consider it to have been verified to me in my life. Right? So I'm not speaking about not being able to live up to a set of ideals that I believe in. I know that I will fail to live up to the fact that I know this because it's been proven to me. That's how damaged we all are. But Mother Earth is not just a place, air quotes, bunny ears. Mother Earth is not just a place. She is not an object. She is not a collection of objects. She is not inert, dead material mass to be monetized. She is not ours to dispense with as we please. Mother Earth is not property. Mother Earth is not all the things that our society demands her to be. Mother Earth is alive. Mother Earth is neither flat-shaped nor globe-shaped. We only see about 1 or 4% of what's going on with her, so we don't know what the fuck shape she actually is. We only know that which we can tangibly understand in the material spectrum. And let me tell you, my dear friends, to the best of my understanding now, remember, put a pin in this because I think I do a whole episode about it in the past or in the future. But at some point, I ramble at great depth about what I'm about to say. But this is just a disclaimer. I totally get it. I could be crazy. I could be clinically insane. Everything I say could be dead wrong. But to the best of my understanding, to question with serious doubt and with serious fear that I am crazy, I have questioned and tried to verify and tried to debunk my own theory. And I am asserting to you today, as I have in the past, and I'm sure I will again, that from everything that I have read, experienced, researched, experimented with, and witnessed phenomenologically, as a human individual, trapped here in this time frame, in this dimension, in this flesh bodysuit, I assure to you that Mother Nature is not only alive, but she will no longer remain unacknowledged and unrecognized. Mother Earth will not remain silent. Now, we can either be frightened by that, or we can take heed and comfort in knowing that we will, even if we currently do not believe in it, be shaken to the root of our being and must contend with the awakening process of connecting to and acknowledging the existence of a living, sentient, conscious, ancient mother that lives and is the living body of this quote-unquote place that we call quote-unquote planet Earth. So this Mother's Day, stop arguing, especially if you're arguing with your mother. And hey, if my mom can hear me up from heaven, bless you and thank you and forgive me for all the times we argued. And if my stepmother and or my dad might be listening, I don't know if they do, I doubt that they do, but if they are, as always, I pray, I beg forgiveness for the times that I was a hurt and injured man-child in the presence of my stepmother and got confrontational because, like I just said, riddled with flaws and failures. We all are. No one is perfect, even the best of us. But it is our calling not to strive for perfection, my friends, because perfection is an illusion of this material plane and is quickly hijacked by ego and turned into an ego trap. What we should be helping each other to achieve is a radical clarity, And by radical, I mean like amaze, inspiring, awe-inspiring. We should do a whole episode about the meanings of radical. But I digress. We should be reminding ourselves that we must reconnect with not just the women in our lives, because they all are mothers and daughters and could be, might be, shall be mothers. And for any women out there that aren't moms and always wanted to be and can't for some reason, forgive me if you happen to be listening. I beg and I pray that some situation gives you opportunity to go through the journey and learn the life lessons that motherhood entails, despite whatever obstacles towards currently you might be facing towards making a baby. And forgive me if this episode has been in any way, shape, or form triggering or a bit of a downer for moms, or any women out there that aren't moms, rather. I apologize. That was totally something that I did not even, I could not have anticipated until it percolated up in my brain in the middle of my rambling. Where was I? Right. Let's all honor our mothers, both in real life, living or dead, birth mothers or stepmothers, by making an extra effort to set aside the argumentation, the conflict that is, causing all this trouble around the world by participating in the abdication of conflict-causing ideological concepts within ourselves as individuals, so that we can begin the healing process one-on-one, by ourselves, and also collectively with each other as communities, in order to achieve the healing of the human species, so that we may get back with a strong alignment, a deep connection to our Mother Earth, the Apache Mama, as my tribal origin peoples would probably call her. Because, let me tell you something, as I've indicated before, to the best of my understanding, there's a shit ton of work we're supposed to be doing that we're not, that's tied into this whole brainwashing thing that I've been pointing out, that we need to get to a healed up place first with Mother Nature, and then really get, our asses into gear on about, because we're not. And it's sort of, that's a whole nother episode. But here on Earth, here in this mundane time frame, humanity invented work for itself, because just the daily mundane details of survival got a little bit too boring, I suppose. You ever wonder why we invented work? Work. What's the purpose? Profiteering, It's about profiteering. It's about profiteering through the leveraging of control and power, and the incentivization of getting other people to do, to put in effort on behalf of someone else's visionary plan or dream or chosen conscious intent instead of one's own. But we can flip that all on its head. And that's what I'm talking about. There's spiritual work that needs doing, that's much more real, much more authentic, much more important, much more necessary to the actuality of the universe, how it works, and our purpose or role in it. And we've radically been ignoring all of that work, in a really horrible, horrible, deep, painful way, which is why we're so toxically fucked up. So, my friends, I guess we'll leave it there, right? Let's send peace, love, and grooviness to each other and to moms, and to the children without moms of the world, to the orphans, whatever quality or time frame or stage of lives, people who have lost their parents, but especially on this weekend, their moms. Let's all band together to incorporate some of that energy work in our meditation. Yeah, that's my fun idea for now, for this weekend. And I think that's going to wrap things up for this episode. Be safe, be smart, know the law, friends. Just because it has been recreationally approved doesn't mean that you can just go and do whatever the fuck you want, right? Like, be savvy about cannabis law. That's my final plug. I'm out.
Well, folks, that bowl is cashed and dusted. Thank you for joining me for yet another most excellent session of Cannabis Talk. Stay lit, pay it forward, and remember, the world needs healing, and cannabis heals. Until next time, I have been your spiritual cannabis mystic talk show host, the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo.